Hey guys, Pat Rarkey here, also known as the Patriarchy. All hail the Patriarchy. Oh boy, Max Landis. Oh god. You know, I've been avoiding making this video for a while because I like Max Landis. I do. I really do. If you don't know who Max Landis is, to give you a quick background on the guy, he is the son of John Landis, the film director of The Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, Animal House, Coming to America, Trading Places. He wrote the movie Chronicle a few years ago, a movie I liked a lot. Then he wrote the film Young Frankenstein. He wrote American Ultra. He's directed. He's worked on TV. He worked on that show The 0 Hour, I think, on Sci-Fi. Basically, he's only had one successful project, really, that did really well, and that was Chronicle. And everything else he's had has been kind of a serious failure. But he's become kind of an internet figure because he did these really successful internet shorts. He did a video on the death of Superman and about Triple H and his wrestling career, and it's kind of like a drunken history style of editing where he tells the story and then they cut to people acting it out in a funny way. Really good videos, all of them. I mean, terrific. He does this great video on Watchmen and Bane breaking Batman's back in Nightfall and all that stuff. Really good stuff. Unfortunately, like a lot of celebrities and people that are from Hollywood and, you know, are cool people, talk cool, act cool. Unfortunately, when they get on Twitter and they get to preaching, they turn into SJWs, and it's broken my heart because I really liked Max. Don't get me wrong, he's kind of annoying. He's kind of like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman, except with rainbow hair. And I've seen him on plenty of podcasts and shows and stuff like that where he's definitely said stuff where I'm like, yeah, that's a little off. But, you know, he always seemed like a cool guy. Unfortunately, now that I've been following him on Twitter, I realize he is just a blind social justice warrior pretty much when it comes to everything. He's made in his mindset, his headset, that everyone on the other side's evil. He clearly lives in that illusion of like, well, you know, Republicans are evil, conservatives are evil, half the country's evil, but I have it figured out. And I'm going to go through just some tweets he's done the last week. So this is going to be part of my series. I've made fun of Sarah Silverman's Twitter. I've made fun of Patton Oswalt's Twitter. I made fun of J.K. Rowling's Twitter. Now I'm going after Max Landis. Somehow I've gotten to less famous people. I don't know, I went from J.K. Rowling to Max Landis. So I know a lot of people watching this video are like, who the fuck is Max Landis? Max Landis is a lesbian. Here, that's a better way to explain it. Okay, so Max asked on Twitter, hey, heard that casting just for diversity is virtue signaling. Could someone give me an example of time diversity ruined something? So, his question out there was he heard that casting just for diversity is virtue signaling. It is. If you're casting just for diversity, for that reason, that's your only reason for doing it, that's virtue signaling. You're trying to look virtuous and noble by casting by having a diverse cast. If that's your goal going into it. Now, if that's not really, I don't know why people think virtue signaling's that mean of an insult. I could be accused of virtue signaling sometimes. Virtue signaling just means that you're being grand in the way you're trying to present things and your side and morals and stuff. Like, a lot of people do it. But unfortunately, Max, every time he uses any internet buzzword or the terminology when he talks about any of this stuff is insane. I'm ready for him to start tweeting about Pepe being a hate symbol. Because, unfortunately, Max is in his early 30s, and he is hip, and he understands lingo, and he understands a lot of stuff, but, like, he also has his head so far up his ass that he can't see the forest from the trees. And please, no Ghostbusters. Women are over half the population. They're hardly diverse. Work harder, boys. So then people give him answers. And this is one of the things he says. A lot of the times people who are a little racist have never taken the time to ask themselves, am I a little racist? So they've never noticed. Like yesterday, there were an incredible amount of people reply to my diversity thing, listing bad movies that happen to have minorities. They don't notice that they're racist and aren't actively racist in their life, so they don't notice how racist they're being online. Well, let's see. They're not racist in their life, they're not active, and they're trying to answer a question you asked on Twitter. You put out a thought bubble, right? You said, when has diversity been bad for movies? So people are trying to think of an answer. Max, that's not racist. Okay, you're not saying that these people are inferior because they were in a movie. They were trying to say that this movie may have been bad and affected because they cast people in it without thinking about who was maybe best for the role or what the movie would be. You can say Idris Elba's casting in the Dark Tower movie is a bad thing. If you've read the books, his character being white's pretty significant, especially when it comes to that second book. I know people want to say that's not true. It's pretty significant, and he's iconic, and it's built around that. And it's kind of a lot of the themes and a lot of what's going on in the Dark Tower. Now to have Idris Elba, you can go, okay, this studio doesn't care about the books. They don't care about adapting this. They want to make a big blockbuster special effects movie, and they didn't think about anything else than that. But they always take that as, oh, you're racist. Oh, I don't like Michael B. Jordan being cast as in the Fantastic Four. That's racist. I want James Bond to be white, because that's how he is in the books. That's racist. That's not racism, you fucking moron. So this is just the first thing I saw. Because Max now can read your minds because I'm getting answers. And even admits one answer was true. M. Night's The Last Airbender was actually a good answer. But he goes this other thing, they don't notice they're racist. I like how he's an expert. He's a psychologist now. He understands this stuff, this screenwriter in Hollywood that, you know, he apparently now is the genius on this stuff. That's one of my worst things about Max is that he acts like he's this high-end intellectual on his Twitter, and he just talks like a guy who failed out of college freshman year. A lot of times, people are little racists, have never taken the time to ask themselves, am I a little racist? Because that's a dumb thing to sit around and think about, Max. Everyone's a little biased. You're a little bit biased. That's why you constantly post stuff anti-conservatism and you're pro-liberal. You don't sit around and think, maybe I'm a little biased. Everyone, black people don't do this, white people, everyone's biased. Everyone has a bias in some way or another. It's stupid to sit around and think about this. The bias isn't necessarily leaning something race-wise. It may be a political bias is what's influencing your answers. But Max only sees it as racism because he has to, hate to use the term, virtue signal on Twitter. Because Max is one of those guys, there's different guys who use different strategies to get laid. Some guys use the confident asshole strategy. Other guys use the, like, you know, be a piece of shit indirectly or play multiple women at once. Some guys try to do the be themselves, be funny. Max tries to be the I'm a super nice guy that understands women's emotions and I'm with them and stuff like that. And it's hilarious. He's just... You could tell that was his whole game, his whole teenage years, and in his 20s is like, I'm the nice guy, that's how I get chicks to suck my dick. And he's someone that would hear me say that in a video, and he'd be like, that's not true, I'm Max Landis, I love women. You're accusing me of my sexist ways. It's like, dude, you are a piece of shit. I'm so sick of this. It's always this... Recently I was listening to an interview with Howard Stern and Jim Carrey, and it was really amazing. The whole interview was fascinating and in-depth, and Jim Carrey was saying this really profound stuff. Then about halfway through, he just goes on this spiel for 5 minutes about Republicans and the election and all this stuff. And it's like, Jim, Jesus Christ, you live in a mansion. He's even saying in the interview, oh, he lives in this mansion. He just paints all day because he has so much money he doesn't know what the fuck to do. It's like, quit speaking for the common people. You guys don't understand the common people. It's just as condescending when Trump speaks for the common people as it is when you guys try to speak for the common people or common women and stuff like that. You've lived in a bubble your whole life. Max Landis, you are like the poster child for white privilege. Your dad was a famous director. Your whole life you've grown up in the shadow of that. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You've always lived in a bubble. You have no basis in reality for anything. So when he's on here talking about this shit, it's like, where are you coming off, dude? You're your typical SJW Hollywood leftist Hillary cocksucker. He's constantly praising Hillary, and he's like, yeah, Hillary, go after the media. Hillary can fight. I mean, he's even a blind Hillary fanboy. I mean, you couldn't have more of a stereotype of a cuck than Max Landis. He's legitimately like the stereotype of one. Next tweet. So he started talking about ISIS, and he started talking about Islamic terrorism, and he said it's not actually has anything to do with Islam or Allah or the religion. He says hatred and fear and economic desperation, jealousy of the West is what drives the terrorist engine, not the fear of Allah. Come on. So he goes on a rant about this, and he acts like this is common knowledge, like everyone knows this. Like everyone knows it has nothing to do with their religion. Everyone knows it's just economic desperation, jealousy. Max. Okay, let's just do this basic shit. If there's 1.8 billion Muslims, right, like as you leftists like to say, and the majority of them aren't terrorists, what do you think makes that group of them that are terrorists, that 15-20%? Being radicalized in the religion they believe in. You don't crash a plane into a building or blow yourself up because you're pissed off about economic desperation. You're not because you're jealous of the West. You do that because you think you're going to go to heaven. That makes more logical sense than what you're saying. And you're saying, oh, that's what drives terrorism. Really? No, because this stuff has existed throughout history. This has been going on for years. This isn't some new thing. We've had radicalized terrorism in religion for years. This isn't some new thing. Religion throughout thousands of years has done things like this. Because a lot of radical religious people do not acknowledge science and fact and all that stuff. But he thinks this is common sense. This is clearly a guy who's never read the Quran. He knows nothing about the ideology. He knows nothing about going to the Middle East. He doesn't even want to acknowledge Sharia law. It's like, what the fuck do you think Sharia law is, you moron? That's fucking stuff based off the book in their religion. Are you retarded? I mean, it's like saying the Catholic Church has nothing to do with religion. What? Hatred and fear. Yeah, fear. So the whole thing is just blame the West. This is that propaganda bullshit, which is Neil Blomkamp sadly did in his recent short film, which I was a fan of, but it was all like, look what the pollution's going to do to the Earth, and then when the lizard aliens come and take over. It was not subtle, to say the least, but it's Neil Blomkamp. But I love that Max think he has it figured out. He's like, no, it's just hatred and fear. We can win this over with ideas. It has nothing to do with the religious text. It's like, it has a lot to do with it, actually. And there's a lot of statistics and research to show this, but I doubt you've even looked into a fraction of this, because you're in this fucking hippy-dippy bullshit mode on Twitter all the time. Max, once again, false intellectualism. Very interesting guy to hear talk about geek culture, comic books, movies, music, and all that stuff. Whenever he starts talking about politics or history, once again, like I said, he has a very low-level understanding of these things, and he lacks nuance on it. He always comes off like a freshman in college, like I said, who dropped out, like who did not stay in college, because the stuff he talks about, it's like that base understanding. It's like somebody who doesn't understand capitalism, so they misconstrue what it is, and then they turn it into fascism, even though that's not what capitalism is. I keep seeing this meme all the time now about capitalism, calling it violence, and I'm like, how is it violence? How is a physical action being taken because of capitalism, which is just a system that exists? Not that's excluding all the regulation stuff that go with it. But yeah, according to Max Landis, there's nothing to do with Allah. The fear of Allah is what radicalizes terrorists. There's no terrorism has anything to do with religion. Oh boy. Donald Trump does a tweet. You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. Max gives the cliche, shut up Voldemort, as he is one of those Harry Potter fags who only makes any political reference or connection when it relates to Harry Potter, because that's the only depth of that's probably his entire political understanding, is that he read Harry Potter. And he's like, oh, JK taught me. She doesn't understand PewDiePie, but she understands politics. Okay, so this girl went missing at this event or something, and nobody could find her, and everybody was really worried about her. So then later she showed back up, turned out she was just really drunk, and is now being mansplained to by 5 billion of the formerly concerned. Gotta love the internet. So Max goes into mansplaining, which we've done several videos on this channel. So one guy says, mansplaining's not a thing, stop, which it's not. Just because a guy's explaining something to you and it might be condescending does not make it a gender term, mansplaining. If a woman is being condescending to you when she explains something, we don't call it vagsplaining, it's just somebody being that way, it's somebody being nagging. The whole problem with mansplaining, Max, which a lot of people would know, it was created by a feminist author because a man explained her book to her that he didn't know she wrote. Now, this is just a guy's ignorant, but the whole common thread became that men do this all the time. They explain things to women that they already know in a condescending way, and only men do this, and it's this huge thing, and men have to acknowledge it, mansplaining. Now, the only people that support mansplaining are feminists and male radical feminists like Max Landis. Most people you meet, most normal women in your life, your mother, your girlfriend or whatnot, or your friends, they don't think mansplaining's a thing. They would laugh if you told them about it. But it's a cool little hipster term to talk about. Oh, mansplaining. It's when a guy explains stuff to women. Because a woman could not possibly be wrong about something and need something explained to her. That's never happened in the history of the world. Women know everything, apparently. Like I said, Max's whole existence is women are these little angelic creatures. If you watch any of his short films, if you hear him talk in interviews, if you hear him discuss women, he has no backbone to say any negative thing about women. It just doesn't exist with him because he can't see women as any kind of flawed identities or flawed he just can't do it. He can't fucking do it. He can rant about men all day and mansplaining, but he says there is nothing funnier than men talk condescendingly about how mansplaining isn't a thing. I love that. There's nothing funnier. Even though Max is condescendingly trying to make mansplaining a thing on his Twitter in this moment. Max, there's nothing funny about a man condescendingly talking about a mansplaining thing. It's not condescending. He's telling you it's not a thing. Stop. That's not condescending. He's telling you sound like a fucking retard. We've already... mansplaining's been debunked so many times with evidence. Like, it's actually been debunked with actual evidence behind it sometimes, and people still don't want to hear it because they buy into it already. Max is cultish with this stuff, and it's funny, irony's going to come back later when we get to his last tweet. I know, we're going on a journey here. It's a term invented by people who hate truth and logic to silence. Yeah, it's true, to silence dissent. That's so true. You don't want to hear someone else's opinion, so you say it's mansplaining a lot of the time. Because people way overuse the term. It may have a meaning, but it's like so rare. But Max Landis, the definition of mansplaining is a hot ass take. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the clever screenwriter. You know, I kind of take back what I said earlier about being a fan, because, you know, I like Chronicle, and I read the script to the second Chronicle, Martyr, and it's actually pretty good, but every other script I've ever read that Max wrote is kind of shitty, and a show that he has on now is kind of crappy. Not hating, but it's like, I hope you're not a one-trick pony, dude. Like, legitimately, like, all he ever really did was rip off Akira and Carrie and make a movie with it, with the guy who's a talented visual director, and then that guy went on to do Fantastic Four, but it's kind of like, it's still out whether or not if Max Landis is actually talented or he's kind of a Kevin Smith one-trick pony type guy and he just should belong on podcasts. It's still up in the air whether Max Landis. So, this one's hilarious. Some guy says to Max, I wonder if these guys realize that calling liberal ideas cultural Marxism, is literally a regurgitation of Nazi propaganda. Max, with his cleverness, he's so clever, they don't. Because, yes, Max has showed his expertise in Marxism and his understanding of history and Nazis in World War II. Criticizing someone on the left right now, in a radicalized left, saying that they're being culturally Marxist, which I even think is an overused term. I'll say that, even though Max overuses all the other terms. That doesn't mean it's Nazi propaganda. Once again, this is a stupid point of view. Stupid as fuck. The concept is that if you call somebody Marxist, if you're accusing them of using a Marxist technique or trying to influence people with it, which is stuff that Obama did and studied in college, he studied Marxism, people are like, oh, no, fuck, that's not true. That's just Nazi propaganda they use for liberal ideas. Okay, a lot of liberals now are anti-free speech. They go against free speech. They think hate speech should be outlawed, and they want to change what people have to say with gender pronouns and stuff, okay? That's cultural Marxism. That's not me being a Nazi propagandist. That's not me going, oh, that's not a liberal idea. Liberal idea is not anti-free speech, Max. A lot of ideas right now aren't just liberal because liberals are saying them. A lot of ideas right now are bad ideas that need to be criticized. Just like conservative ideas need to be criticized and Republicans need to be criticized. I understand that. Unfortunately, the problem with the left is that they have the problem they think they have the moral superiority in their bubble. They're like, well, I don't hear any other one's point of view and I don't think the other guys could ever be good. And I live in this David Bowie bubble from Labyrinth bullshit. And then I just like my confirmation bias. He's like, well, of course people saying cultural Marxism is just Nazi. They don't. It's like, Max, come on. Really? If you haven't seen any of the cultural Marxism going on here in Canada and other places, you're just ignoring it. You haven't seen it, you're ignoring it, you haven't watched the videos on it, you don't care, which is fine. But do go on Twitter and act like you're hip and with this shit, like you understand this whole thing, and you don't know. He even says sometimes, he's like, I know I get accused of being an SJW on Twitter a lot. Yeah, dude, you are. And I love, this is the guy who started the Rey as a Mary Sue thing for Force Awakens, which I totally agree with. That was a great criticism. But then he's fucking on here. He'll call filmmakers out. He'll call bullshit out all the time. Yet whenever he talks about politics or people or ideas, he always sounds like a fucking idiot. He sounds like 10 years younger than he is. I mean, really, dude, do you honestly... I mean, even this is almost like a defensive Marxism. It's like, well, Nazis just said cultural Marxism as an attack just to stop liberalism from fighting them. No, you fucking moron. Jesus Christ. And the irony of this is how many people call Trump and conservatives today Nazis in the same way to spread propaganda. CNN spreads propaganda. New York Times spreads propaganda. Washington Post. They've been caught spreading propaganda now. Now we know that they've been pushing false stories without sources. And you guys still won't call it out. You won't hear Max call these people be like, well, I wish Hillary will go after the media. Like the media wasn't up Hillary's ass. It's this fake narrative the left keeps making up. First it was Hillary's perfect, and the media was on her side. Now somehow the media helped you get her, help her lose. First James Comey was on her side, then he's evil, now he's good again. They just flip-flop. First Russia's bad, then they're good, now they're bad again. It makes no sense, guys. It really doesn't. And every celebrity on Twitter who talks about this stuff knows no more about it than you do or I do, anyone. But the problem is they will present it as if they do because they'll retweet something someone else says that they're like, see? Because they can't write something out and they can't actually go into detail. Max doesn't know what the fuck cultural Marxism is. Max knows hardly anything about Marx. He probably has the Russell Brand Cliff Notes version of Marxism. And he probably knows very little about propaganda if he's ignoring all the propaganda from the left. If you think Obama didn't push propaganda for 8 years, you don't know what propaganda is, and you're ignoring it. Because the left always likes to ignore their propaganda, even though it's everywhere. CNN is just a propaganda network. That's all it is. That's all it does all day. But, I know we're wrong. Like I said, we overuse cultural Marxism, but to act like it isn't out there, are you saying that one of the main people who uses that, who talks about it, is Jordan Peterson? I would love to hear Max Landis have a debate with Jordan Peterson and tell him how he's pushing Nazi propaganda by talking about the cultural Marxists. I would love to hear him debate Jordan Peterson, an intellectual. I would love to hear him debate him on this and explain this to him, and then just have Jordan Peterson whoop his ass within seconds. I'd love to hear him talk to Sam Harris. Oh, I know, I get accused of being a Sam Harris fanboy. Okay, Richard Dawkins, any of these people on some of this shit. Max talks like an idiot. It's like, let's even, I'll even go a little further. Let's just say, let's not even go with those guys, like one of the Four Horsemen. Let's go with someone a little bit more liberal. Let me think. Who's liberal that's not even Bill Maher. If he talked to Bill Maher about Islam, Bill Maher could, and I disagree with Bill Maher on so much. Bill Maher could even inform Max on damn Islam. That's the thing. It's like, Max, where are you getting your sources? Do you just come up with your own ideas with like 10 people you hang out with, and you don't actually go look at any of this stuff? Like, are you kidding me? Like, go look at Jordan Peterson talk about Marxism, and today, in an historical context, it'll really help you out. Go to school, read a book. I know that you watch movies and you live in Hollywood and you think everyone's a genius because they make millions of dollars making movies. But that's because they know how to tell stories. That means they're good at telling stories, which is a key to being good at propaganda, is being a good storyteller. Okay, so then there's this Time magazine Photoshop thing where they give Trump a beard. Should President Trump grow a beard? I vote yes. These are headlines we're seeing in magazines, MAGA, right? Imagine being in a cult and not knowing you're part of a cult and thinking every day, I'm not in a cult, but you're fully in a cult. Well, that's what being in a cult is, Max, which is, I don't know why you'd explain that on Twitter. That's the basis of being in a cult. But, okay, to go back to my cult-like behavior, this is a guy that's consistently showing he only sees one point of view. He accuses people of being racist or bigoted or mansplaining or anything when they call him out, when they disagree with him, basically. And then he always backpedals. He does it all the time. He'll backpedal on a point. Then he'll try to act like he's cool and has a sense of humor about it. Like, he'll put up on his Twitter, like, oh, triggered by everything, I get it, lol, 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 I'm just being sensitive. No, dude, you're being a dickwad. You're butthurt that Hillary Clinton lost the election, so you're trying to shit on anyone that disagrees with you on Twitter, which is what all the celebrities are doing right now, even Andy Richter, because it's the only thing that's keeping some of you relevant, because nobody gives a fuck who Max Landis is except me, apparently. And you're talking about a cult. When you act like a cult member, everything you said and addressed is a cult member attitude. You already had in your head mansplaining's a thing. You already had in your head diversity can never be a bad thing in a movie. You already had in your head that Trump's evil. You already had in your head he's Voldemort. You're in the cult of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter. You're more likely to be in a cult than these people you're talking about that are having fun with the Trump beard thing, because your whole life is cultish. Hollywood is a cultish, and has nepotism throughout it. You are proof of that, Max, and every other celebrity. That's why I make fun of you guys more. People ask me, why do you make fun of SJWs on, like, Riley Dennis more? Why do you make more videos about online stuff? Because those people they're e-celebs, or politicians. These celebrities, what's funny about them is that they legitimately think they're intelligent on this higher level, that they understand this stuff, that they figured it out. Because their whole lives they're told how smart they are. They're surrounded constantly by people just reinforcing them in their own train of thought, that they think they have it all figured out. So that's why I mock them so much, because there's nothing worse than celebrity losing any sense of reality. There's nothing that makes me laugh more, that makes me cringe more, and mock people more than when they lose any kind of grip with reality. Gwyneth Paltrow is a perfect example of a celebrity who's lost all grip with reality because she's too famous. Bono, a lot of these people, too famous. They're a parody. Max is somehow, with minor celebrity status, already made himself a parody before he's become a really famous screenwriter, filmmaker. He's pretty much already become a parody online. And this is a guy that, like I said, on a lot of cool shows, on a lot of cool podcasts, really funny at points, makes good points, but oh my god, his Twitter is just cancer. He can't help himself. Because the 140 character thing, they have a quick little thought and they want to do this thing because they're triggered or they're pissed off and emotional, and it lacks nuance. And then they try to act like they have more nuance later when they get responses that they say lack it. It's like, you didn't have nuance in your original statement. You got to practice what you preach. But at the end of the day, right, you're probably going, okay, you've made a video over 20 minutes about Max Landis. You've just been bitching about him. What the fuck? What makes you any better than him? You're doing the same thing. Well, I'm not. I'll tell you why I'm not doing the same thing. I'm not on Twitter constantly pushing bullshit. I'm not constantly accusing people of things without sufficient evidence. I'm not reevaluating history and rewriting my version of history to fit it. I'm not using buzzwords and terms to fit my narrative all the time. I use them much more jokingly than Max does. I think triggered... I've mocked cultural Marxism for a while now as an overused term. But then Max trying to act like it's just something people use as Nazi propaganda, the irony of it. It's like, Jesus, you think the only time Marxism's been criticized in a cultural sense was by Nazis? Really? You think that's the only time it's ever been criticized? Oh my god. That's the thing, it's tunnel vision of politics. It's tunnel vision of ideas. In his mind, Hillary Clinton should have won because she was a woman. Because damn, women are so amazing. And you're saying, where are you getting this? It's all Max does. He is such a kiss ass constantly about this stuff, and he's such a pandering fool when it comes to this stuff. And I hate to see it because he's a really funny, cool guy who knows how to talk shit and make good points, like the Mary Sue thing with Ray. Perfect criticism that really stuck, and it was true. Ray was a very thin character that didn't earn any of her great aspects. Unfortunately, though, Max, he can criticize female characters in fiction. In real life, he's got the I don't know, he's got the Marxist dick up his ass, basically. It's people who never had the real struggle financially. They never really had the ups and downs that they think they did. They had artistic ups and downs and emotional ones, but they like to think that, oh, well, I have this outside perspective on things that can really help people. I can fix things. And we consistently see that the celebrities and people out there really don't help anyone in small rural America. They don't help small town people. They don't actually do much. They just pretend to. They're no different than what Donald Trump does. They're all the same. They're just mad that Donald Trump became the president when they all want the same level of power. Do not think that the hatred Hollywood has and the hatred celebrities have for Trump is not rooted in jealousy. Almost everything like this is rooted in jealousy. These are a group of people that want to have influence, that want to have power, and love having people listen to them and read what they say and watch their movies and are surrounded by yes men. They can build the life they want. And they come out all the time. I mean, all celebrities do now. They all give you speeches at the Tonys, at the Grammys, at the Oscars. They all give you shit now. It's every freaking every celebrity now is like a and they're almost like a radical Christian. Like they sound like evangelicals. They almost talk like that, but with like liberal, like radical leftist ideas. But they talk like crazy, like you don't want to burn in hell. It's like, you don't want the Nazis to take over. You have to stick with me. We have to defeat Trump with the resistance, because the Lord Hillary Clinton has blessed us with resistance powers. But they don't realize why they keep losing, why they lost this election, and why they're going to lose in the future, is that you sound like a fucking moron. You sound so condescending, more than anyone else can, when you have this blanket view of men and a political party, and you don't apply that logic to your side, and it just doesn't work. It's why things explode. See, the Republican Party, the Tea Party within the Republican Party was attacking the current Conservative Party. There was warfare going on within the party. For some reason, liberals will not go after each other. They will not criticize each other anymore. They will not. They'll pretend that Obama didn't criticize Hillary in 08. Now she's great in 2016. They'll just do that because they think people forget things, but we don't. And it's just weird. I don't know. But I've done way too long on Max Landis. But to summarize, Max Landis' Twitter is just, oh my god, it's ass cancer. It really is. It's truly the worst kind of tumor you could just have. You just want to blow your brains out reading it, because it's somebody who's such a cliche. He's such a stereotype on Twitter. At least Patton Oswalt, when he does that stuff occasionally, will say something really fucking clever. He'll say something really witty on his Twitter when he says something, but like Max is just like fucking basic talking points. I mean, he's not too far off from Anita Sarkeesian or something. It's like feminist frequency is his go-to to find out any of his talking points. It's really sad, because I feel like if he actually went out of his comfort zone, he might actually find out that there's other things to look at and address here, but you can't expect people to do that. Anyway, this is The Patriarchy. Like, comment, and subscribe. What do you think in the comment section? Are you a fan of Max Landis? Do you like him? Do you like his movies? Or you ever fucking heard of the guy? And, you know, what have you. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.